I want you to picture this. You're pressed against the window of a Boeing 737, descending through a thick blanket of gray clouds. As the wheels reach for the ground, the tarmac finally appears, and you see it a pair of massive, white digits painted right at the start of the concrete. Maybe it's a 09 or a 7. You've seen these numbers hundreds of times. They look like simple gate assignments or maybe just a way for air traffic control to keep track of the traffic. But have you ever noticed something strange? You have never, in any airport in any country, landed on runway 42. You've never taken off from runway 99. No matter how big the airport is, those numbers never go above 36. It looks like a simple numbering system. But here's the surprising truth: those numbers aren't labels. They are high-precision navigational tools that are directly tied to the molten iron core of our planet. Right now, the Earth's magnetic field is shifting, and it's forcing airports to literally rewrite the rules of aviation. Today, we're uncovering the mystery of the 36-point compass, how planetary drift can turn a runway into a lie, and why a single degree of movement in the Earth's core can cause a multi-million-dollar construction crisis. To understand these massive numbers, we first have to look at the invisible architecture of our planet. In the so-called dark ages of aviation, the early 1900s, landing a plane was essentially an educated guess. Pilots didn't have GPS or fancy digital displays. They looked out the window and searched for landmarks, a specific barn, a bend in a river, or a church steeple. But if a storm rolled in or night fell, those landmarks vanished. Aviation was a localized game, and if you got lost in the clouds, you were flying blind. As planes got faster and travel became global, we realized we couldn't rely on things we could see on the ground. We needed to rely on something that was everywhere, even in total darkness. We needed the Earth's magnetic field. But the problem was, how do you paint a direction on a piece of pavement so clearly that a pilot can read it while traveling at 150 miles per hour? This leads us to the universal language of the runway. It's a system that turns the entire Earth into a giant map. It all starts with the 36-point compass. Every runway is named after its compass heading. Now, a circle has 360 degrees. If you're facing due north, that's 360 degrees. Due east is 90 degrees. South is 180. But painting 360 in giant letters on a runway would take up way too much space and be hard to read from a cockpit. So, engineers did something brilliantly simple. They dropped the last zero. 360 degrees becomes runway 36. 90 degrees becomes runway 09. Think of it like a giant clock face, but instead of 12 hours, there are 36. When a pilot is told to land on runway 09, they aren't just looking for a sign, they are aligning the nose of their plane with 90 degrees on their compass. If the number on the ground matches the needle on their dash, they know they are perfectly aligned with the concrete. So, if the math is that simple, why do we ever need to change the numbers? This is where the physics gets weird. You see, the North Pole isn't a fixed point. Because the Earth's core is made of swirling liquid iron, the magnetic North Pole is constantly wandering. Right now, it's drifting toward Siberia at a speed of about 30 miles per year. Think of it like this: imagine you're standing in a room pointing at a chair. That chair is north. Now, if someone slowly slides the chair 3 feet to the left, your arm has to move to keep pointing at it. Your direction has changed even though you haven't moved an inch. This is the why behind the massive construction projects you sometimes see at airports. If the magnetic pole shifts enough, the heading of the runway changes. For example, if a runway was built pointing at 84 degrees, it is called runway 08. But if the magnetic pole drifts and that same piece of concrete now aligns with 86 degrees, the rules of aviation say it must be rounded up. Suddenly, runway 08 becomes runway 09. So, if the numbers are just a guide, why does it matter so much? Why spend millions to repaint? It comes down to the fundamental law of aviation safety. In modern flight, especially in thick fog or heavy rain, pilots rely on instrument landing systems. These systems are calibrated to the exact magnetic heading of the runway. If the paint on the ground says 08 but the electronics and the magnetic field say 09, the pilot's brain receives a massive red flag. This conflict can create confusion at a critical moment. Airports are legally required by organizations like the FAA and ICAO to maintain perfect alignment. A 1-degree error isn't just a typo, It's a navigational catastrophe waiting to happen. To fix it, airports have to shut down entire runways, scrape off the old lead-based paint, and repaint digits the size of a 4-story building. It's an expensive, high-stakes battle against a moving planet. So, the next time you race sitting in that window seat and you see those giant white numbers flashing beneath the wheels, don't just see them as labels. Don't see them as boring pavement markings. Instead, see them as a bridge between two worlds. One world is the solid, concrete ground we stand on. The other is the invisible, swirling energy of the Earth's core, thousands of miles beneath our feet. Those numbers are a reminder that even our most massive structures, our airports, and our cities are actually just passengers on a planet that never sits still. We aren't just landing on a runway. We are aligning ourselves with the very force that keeps the world in order. If this hidden story behind the tarmac surprised you, hit the like button and subscribe to Between Two Worlds. We'll keep uncovering the secret logic behind the simple things you see every day. Thanks for watching.